Has anybody got thoughts on the Red Sox?
I'm excited. I think this is the first time in 3 years I can say I'm happy with what they did in the offseason going into this year. They addressed a lot of concerns. They went out and got an adult in the room and Alex Bregman, a guy that you have this big three with Meyer, Anthony, and Campbell coming up. You have an adult who's going to come in and give these guys a path to success, show them what it is to win, what you need to do to lead, even as a younger player. Bregman made a huge impact in Houston. So I think, and you're already hearing stories that are coming out of spring training where he took that bus trip with those guys. He is a lead by example kind of player. I think that's what you need. Where in a team you didn't really have that before. You also went out and got Garrett Crochet, who is an absolute animal. This guy, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a guy that posts, a guy that is a threat every single time he goes on the mound. Teams are going to circle this guy, do their best, and he's still going to strike out 10. So that's a guy front of your rotation that's going to absolutely make a difference. Walker Bueller is a good addition, I think. He's a guy, on a 1 2 year deal. I think it's a 1 year deal that, it's a prove a contract. Guy's a competitor, got a real bulldog mentality, got to come out, absolutely shove every chance he gets. And yeah, I feel really good. I'm not trying to hog it all. Glick, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, give a quick story. So I run a different baseball site called The Pen for Fansided, and because of that, I'm privy to a few rumors that are going on around, the off season and whatever. And I vividly remember one day I heard something about the Red Sox, so I texted Derek and I said, "Hey, like, just so you know, the Red Sox are out of the Alex Bregman race. Like that they made their best offer. It's between like the Cubs and the Tigers, I think it was at the time, because the Astros had moved on." And Derek was like, "Well," he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "I guess that makes sense. They're probably not going to give him the con." And then it came out that they gave him $40 million a year, and everyone was like, "What the hell just happened?" So I mean, it's like Derek said, I think they actually had a really good offseason. It was slow because they traded for Crochet and then months went by and then they signed Bregman. But I think that they've done a good job. The rotation is deeper. I mean, everyone on the rotation is injured right now, but the rotation is deeper. Crochet and Bueller definitely add a lot of depth, especially since Brian Bayo, Ethan, we talked about this, but Bayo's going to be out for a while. There's other injuries that are currently plaguing the team, but um, right now it's really a matter of, it looks like the infield logjam is solved. It looks like Bregman's going to take over third. Devers will DH or play first base, I guess, and whatever happens with Quesas happens with Quesas. But I think that they're probably the best team in the AL East to start the season because the Yankees don't have Garrett Cole, so which is hard to say considering where they've been the last few years. But I do think the Red Sox are probably the best team in the AL East.
Rick, I kind of want to get your thoughts on Garrett Crochet because you when you mentioned him, the thoughts in my head were when I first looked at the lineup for the Red Sox, because I'm not a Red Sox fan, I couldn't give less of a hoot about the Red Sox, minus being a journalist. Um, but before you guys got Garrett Crochet, I was looking at it, I'm like, why the hell do you guys only have righty pitchers? Like who's pulling the strings here? And finally you get Garrett Crochet, and I'm like, finally a lefty pitcher. So, I'm glad you have this lefty pitcher. So what are your thoughts overall about the lineup?
Lineup or rotation?
Rotation, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Rotation, I think it's again like I was alluding to, adding Crochet, adding Bueller only really helps with making the guys that you have fall into more comfortable places. Tanner Houck as a one really wasn't reliable. I think last year was a career year. Not to say he can't follow it up with another strong one. Spring training's been a little rough for him. You can't put too much stock into that, but I feel really good having him as a 2 3, depending on where Bueller slots in when he shows up. Again, Bryant Bayo being out to start the year. Um, I think having those guys that you brought in allows you to breathe a little bit, not having to rush him in and, the countless comparisons he's been, compared to Pedro Martinez, like, and all that weight on his shoulders, especially with Pedro saying that he reminds me of me. So I think him being able to slide into a, back end of the rotation kind of guy will be good for him, less spotlight on him. Giolito, if he comes in, I know he's having some hamstring problems right now. If he starts the season, he's going to be a guy that just eats innings. So I think, 1 to 5, you feel much better. And this is even with pushing Cutter Crawford out. This is a guy that came in last year and, had a season that was his best season and gave 5 6 strong innings every single time he came out. And this guy no longer being in the rotation is just a testament to what they did in the offseason.